The Talksport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.
Welcome back to the show, all Cherries fans, Villa fans, everybody else, and we've got some more cherry picking this bright and early Friday morning. Now, of course, it wouldn't be cherry picking if I didn't have my main man next to me, Mr. Matthew Harrison. How are you doing, Matt?
Hello, Craig. Yeah, not too bad. Had a bit of a funny migraine yesterday. Knocked me for six a little bit, but no, I'm feeling much better this morning. After a good sleep, slept most of the evening. But yeah, no, it's feel a bit more refreshed this morning to go through some of this stuff with you on cherry picking. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Well, to be honest, I didn't have a migraine, although I did have a migraine, the day after, of course, Saturday. The Sunday morning, I think I got a little bit pissed, put nicely, celebrating that victory over Arsenal. But hey, we can be let off for that, can't we? Hey, but I tell you what, let's get stuck into this and let's firstly discuss that. Before we do, here's a bit about our sponsors, Dental on the Banks. Find out a bit more about them at dentalonthebanks.co.uk for all your dental needs, and also touchpointtelecoms.co.uk. Get in contact with Mark and the team at Touchpoint Telecoms for all your business telecoms needs. So, formalities out the way. Let's go enjoy this. So, we outgunned the Gunners. And wow. We are the only team in the Premier League this season, and Arsenal have lost 4 games, and we've inflicted 2 of those.
Yeah.
Pretty good. And
this is the side as well that's obviously apart from Wednesday evening when they went out of the Champions League, but don't forget they've beaten some decent sides, including Real Madrid in the Champions League this season as well, haven't they?
They have, yeah. They could beat Real Madrid twice, couldn't beat the Cherries twice. There we are. Exactly. So Andoni Iraola may have been concerned by just one win in Bournemouth's last 9 league matches. Of course, that come against Fulham before Saturday. But this comeback made it 5 matches unbeaten and gives them a real chance of European football next season. The visitors did not play like a side devoid of confidence, boosting victories, knocking possession around with consummate ease before Evanilson somehow headed over from close range after Kerkez's delightful cross. Dango Ouattara could also have tested Raya, but William Saliba's excellent last-ditch tackle, and it was very, very good tackle, thwarted an excellent through ball from Kluivert shortly before Rice's opener. Another Saliba block saw Kluivert's dipping strike fall the wrong side of the crossbar before Ouattara picked out the pocket of Odegaard from Raya's pass and teed up Evanilson to clip just over the target. Yet for all of their easy on the eye football, 2 set pieces proved the difference as definitive winger Semenyo launched his throw onto the head of Huijsen before Evanilson outmuscled Odegaard to bundle a finish under Raya for the winner. This battling win marked Bournemouth's first Premier League victory at Arsenal, and Iraola will know more results like this are needed to solidify their European hopes ahead of hosting Champions League hopefuls Aston Villa next Saturday, of course tomorrow. And this is the match stats. And well, what can we say? I'll tell you what, this game is right up there with my favourite games that we've seen AFC Bournemouth play in the Premier League in the years that we've been in there. Of course, 8 years now. And yeah, this is right up there, isn't it, Matt?
Yeah, it was a good performance, wasn't it? And you always kind of thought that, I think, well, last week I think I predicted a draw, didn't I? And quite a few people actually on the Facebook predicted a 2-1 win, didn't they? And
I did.
Yeah,
I did
and
with Cecil, but
well,
it was more heart than head, really.
Yeah, and the performance, I think, weighted it. It's a good away performance.
Yeah.
Obviously we watched it together. The times I've been up to Emirates 3 times, I think.
Yeah.
Over the years, and it's never been, the greatest place to go to.
No.
But yeah, it was nice to finally see that win. I don't know whether it's sort of gonna, has it knocked their confidence for their Champions League game? I mean, I did watch it on Wednesday evening, and I thought that PSG were, quite impressive. I think the Champions League final between them and Inter is going to be quite a decent final this year, which is going to be good.
Yes.
But yeah, from our perspective, yeah, what an excellent win. I mean, when you look at it as well from the stats, I mean, 49.7% percentage. I think that's, decent.
That's hot. That's good. Yeah. Especially at Arsenal.
Yeah. And both our shots that were on target, obviously, with the goals. So, yeah, I thought, we competed with Arsenal. I think it maybe in the first half, we probably made them look a little bit better. But the second half performance from us is, like you say, way up there. And there's been so many great away performances this season. And this is going to rank up there, with it. Whether it's, my personal favourite or someone else's personal favourite, I think is going to be, down to personal opinion. But it's definitely going to be up there. There's been some great away performances this season. That's something that I'm looking forward to looking back on at the end of the season. The away games, the away results that we've had.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I thought all in all, from the second half, you would be expecting probably the away side looking more likely to be the side that was second in the league and not the home side. But yeah, individual performances as well. I mean, there's got to be some shout outs for some individual performances. I mean, I know he got the equaliser, Dino, but I mean, I thought he looked great in defence again.
Yes.
So did Zabani. I thought those two really stood out. Attacking wise, again, same old sort of performance from Evanilson, which he's, capped off the goal. Why we were looking so long at that handball? Well, supposed handball. I mean, again, VAR just showed itself as a bit of a menace that it is, because why they were even looking at that, I don't know. I mean, the amount of times it was replayed, it was quite clear. I think it wasn't coming off any arm there. It looked more likely it was coming off the side of the body. But yeah,
it's inconsistent. VAR is inconsistent. The thing is, and we've spoken about this so many times, and I'll actually probably do a show on it at some point. But the thing is you watch a game and the referee should be in full control of exactly what happens on that pitch. Now, the VAR at Stockley Park, they're trying to actually cancel goals out. They're trying to look for reasons to actually call, to cancel that goal. Now, if that had happened the other end and Arsenal had scored that, would it have been going to VAR? Would it have been? And this is sort of what we saw against Manchester United. That was really frustrating. Okay, it got rescinded in the end, but that was too late. We'd lost 2 points out of that. So why they were trying to actually cancel that goal rather than actually seeing it for what it was, which was an excellent, finish from Evanilson, is beyond me. Like I say, would it happen up the other end? Well, it's. But I thought it was a clear goal. I said it at the time. I'll say it again. Even without VAR, I would have said fantastic goal. There was no, you know, there was no handball from Evanilson. In fact, it touched the Arsenal player's hand. So yeah, VAR is just a menace. It's crap. It really is.
Yeah,
It's rubbish, isn't it?
yeah. Like I say, you might want to do your little show on that because I'm sure it'd be good to see you ranting and raving at some point again.
Yeah,
So.
I'm sure my referee friend, where we're not sure where he is from, but he always comments, and absolutely delighted that you watched the show when I rant on about referees. And of course, he commented after the Manchester United one. Not sure who he is. He could be a top level referee. He could be a park level referee. But your opinion's valid. Hey,
Absolutely.
but at the end of the day, VAR is crap, and I'm standing by that. You've got a completely different opinion, so hey, you're welcome to it. You're welcome to it, but I think I'm right.
Yeah.
Of course I would. Of course I would.
Yeah.
But yeah, great stats here. Great stats here. 2 shots on target, 2 goals. I think that it really showed that we was in the game, and this wasn't a lucky win. This wasn't a lucky win. This was a hard fought win against a very good side.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And, Andoni as well. I thought Andoni's comments at the end was spot on as well, to be honest with you.
Yep, and I'm going to read through these as well. Andoni's given me quite a bit to read through here. But Antonio Iriola spoke to Sky Sports after Bournemouth's victory against Arsenal. He said, I liked the game overall. I think we had chances. They scored, but we played well. The key was the set plays in the second half. In the end, in these close games, to make a difference with the set plays was the key to take the 3 points. On staying patient, Andoni said, I think we have been at half time talking about a good first half. They are going to have chances, but we were playing well, having a lot of the ball, taking good positions. It was a matter of doing the same thing, pushing a bit more, and I think the subs also helped us. Anton, coming from the bench, was a good spark at that moment when both teams were tired. On Semenyo's long throws, Andoni said, yes, we hardly score any. That's the first one. We conceded 2 or 3 this season. We've had a couple of players who can put dangerous throws. Of course, Kirk has. Today, the throw was longer than I expected, but it's a nice moment to score this type of goal. On goal scorer Dean Huijsen, I think he's playing very well. Even in this scenario, being on the ball, he was confident. It's difficult to defend everything. I think it's the 3rd goal he scored on set plays. He's our biggest threat there, and he's helping us a lot. And I tell you what a great header. He didn't move. It's one of those traditional, defenders where flick the ball straight over the goalkeeper. Bosh, great goal. And Andoni said, on getting the 3 points, I think we needed this one because we know the schedule we have. Arsenal, Villa, City, you have to get points where you don't expect. We missed a few chances recently, and we needed it this time to go our side.
Yeah.
And there we are. That's Andoni's thoughts. I think he's hit the nail on the head. Of course, I mentioned Huijsen there. He's such a talented player. He knew where Semenyo was going to throw that ball in. Again, I think a lot of credit needs to be given to Coops and what set plays. he's devised. That is, if it is Coops that has done that, but Howson was in the right position. I didn't realise Semenyo was going to throw it that far, and he just flicked the ball. It wasn't one of those really strong headers, but it was enough. It was cute enough, wasn't it?
Yeah,
To
he got the
actually get
angle on it
past.
to beat the keeper, didn't he?
Yeah, it was all about the angles.
I mean, good to touch there on the Semenyo throw because
Mm.
That's a great asset to have, isn't it? Especially like we got Kirkes as well, who can throw a long ball, and
Yeah.
when you got a couple of players that can deliver a ball from the throw-in into the box like that, it's almost as good as a corner, isn't it? I know there was some controversy, wasn't there, on where he took the throw-in from.
Yeah.
He actually did move quite a way up the line, which, in fairness, I would say probably did help with the assist, and probably really, he should have been brought in a bit, but hey ho, who's worrying about that?
But then again, VAR would have, we're talking about VAR, if Stockley Park are that hot on it, which they seem to be when it's for us, they would have stepped in at that point. But must be parameters. I'm not an expert with regards to that, but
I think isn't there certain rules where they can intervene and where they can't intervene. I don't think that was one they could intervene on, was it? I mean, it was on. Obviously, we had bank holiday Monday, didn't we, earlier on in the week, and it was on.
We did.
I was able to watch Ref Watch on Sky Sports.
Yeah.
And they were discussing it on there. And do you know what? I kind of understood where they were coming from, and in football now, I think they were making a point. In football now, you can sometimes take, it's not as strict as like when as a kid learning to play football.
Yeah.
The ball went out and you took it where the ball went out. You took the throw in there.
Yes.
No matter where on the pitch these days, players tend to take, certain number of steps and then throw the ball in. Whereas back in, when I was learning to play, it was like, that's where the ball's gone out. That's where you take the throw in. And if you moved, you got brought back.
Yes.
It doesn't happen now, does it?
No, most definitely not.
It's more quite lenient, isn't it? On throw-ins, but I mean, obviously that's just me being picky. But it was brought up on Ref Watch, like I say, was his positioning, right where he took it, and I mean, like I say, I do honestly believe that it's kind of helped with that assist his position, but who cares? Goal at the end of the day.
100%.
And yeah, I think, to be honest, if that was the other way round and Arsenal had scored like that, I think we'd probably be saying something different. But yeah, I mean, you can't take nothing away from Dino. I mean, he got the right flick on it, he got the right enough power on it. Not that I don't think power, overall, the powers. It was more how he glanced it in. I think was more impressive for me.
100%.
And Raya, I rate the goalkeeper. I thought he saved the penalty on Wednesday night. And I thought, to be fair, sometimes he looks Arsenal's best player. Not to watch Arsenal a lot, but the little times I do, and I've seen him play. Sometimes he really does stand out, and sometimes I can now see why they preferred him over Rambo, to be honest. But he beat a decent goalkeeper there with a nice little flick of the head, and again, it's probably I think they were talking about like his value on after the game. I think JV Redknapp and that was saying how his value keeps going up, and it's just a shame that they can't demand anything with that release clause in place. But the second goal, not the greatest of goals, was it? Let's be honest.
No, most definitely not.
Counts, and that's where you want your striker. You want your striker in those kind of positions, and if he forces it in with his hip and whatever part of his body, then so be it. It's you don't expect your strikers to score screamers and great finishes all the time. If they're in that 6-yard box and it goes in, that's the main thing, isn't it? And poacher's goal, I think, is the way you describe that one.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think, fantastic header. So full credit to the team, full credit to Iriola. And what a great performance. And of course, very good evening as well. You know, had a bit of a sore head in the morning, and then headed to Cheddar Gorge. Actually, very interestingly, had the white shirt on as well. So yeah, went exploring caves in a Bournemouth shirt after being pissed. But there we go. But I tell you what, let's talk about our European aspirations. So can the Cherries still make Europe? We've got a great chance now in pole position for that Conference League place. So this is the Cherries' final predicted points. So this is with supercomputers and such like. 57.51. Of course, you can't get 0.51, so let's round that up to let's just say 58. But yeah, 57.51 is what they've given us. This means the Cherries should win one and draw one from our last 3 games. Now, of course, that would put us on 57. So we'll go with the 57 then in that case. Is that going to be enough for Europe? Well, let's have a little look-see and explore whether or not that figure will be good enough. So this is the finishing position probabilities. So as you can see there, you've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and 11th as well. Now, Matt, talk us through this. We've got the sixth place is a possibility of 0.16. I think it's going to be quite difficult looking at that. That's on 61 points. That would mean pretty much winning all of our games. Well, it would mean winning all of our games.
Yeah, it would mean winning all our remaining games. Yeah,
Finish on 62, and not
and
really.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's obviously the probability percentage there says it's pretty much impossible for us to do that. I mean, we got 2 very tough sides coming up. We've got 3 really, because I mean, I know Leicester are relegated; they've not had a great season.
Yeah,
they ain't going to want their last game of the season to be just a pushover. They're going to want to make a point. They're not going to leave quietly. So I think everyone, might be thinking, there's an easy 3 points there. I think that game would be more difficult. So when you look across the 3 games, more difficult than we may think. We should win against them on paper, but we know sometimes playing against look at Ipswich. I think everybody, at home thought, we would get the 3 points there, and Ipswich did do a job on us. So Leicester ain't going to come here thinking, right, we're going down anyway. They're going to want to make a point and not go down.
Well, 7th place,
but I mean, just on that 6th place, 0.16%. Yeah, I mean, you're playing Villa and you're playing City as well, both chasing for Champions League. They're going to be extremely difficult games. We've got to go up to City. Yes, we've beaten City at home. Can we beat City away? Of course we can. But it's going to be a very, very difficult game, isn't it, to go up there? They're gunning. They want to cement their place in the top 4. They know they've only got the FA Cup as a chance of silverware this season. So, they have to get that top 4 place, because anything less than top 4, I mean, their season is going to be looked upon, with the amount of success they've had over the last 5 years, is going to be looked upon as a poor season regardless.
Yeah.
But they don't want to fall out of that top 4, do they?
No, most definitely not.
I can understand that probability. I think the probability of finishing 7th, I still think, I personally think the highest we will get will be 8th.
Well, the thing is where it comes in interesting with 7th place is 1.87% probability. Now, that position, of course, is occupied by Aston Villa. Now, this weekend's game is going to be a very, very difficult one, mainly because of the two clubs. Villa, of course, have got a chance of getting into those Champions League places. In fact, of course, they're only 3 points away from fifth. We need to win to actually stay within Europe, or within a chance of Europe.
Mhm.
So if we beat Villa, it's probably going to kill off their Champions League hopes. However, it will mean that we're 4 points behind them. Now, I fully expect us to beat Leicester last game of the season. I can't see anything but it would be an absolute travesty, if we are in that 8th spot with one of the other three directly behind us and was to then blow it. It would be more painful to blow it, against Leicester, considering, we played Aston Villa and Man City and overcome them to stay in that pole position. But to do that, personally, I think we have to beat Villa, and we can potentially get up to 7th if we was to win all 3 games. It's very possible. We've been on a run earlier on in the season. We are unbeaten in 5 games, so I don't think that one is as set in stone as 6th. 6th is no chance. Win every game. Hope nobody else wins. Nah, that's not going to happen. But 6th, 7th, possibly. But I think you're probably right when realistically 8th is our highest probability, with a percentage of 47.26. We're in that pole position at the moment for 8th. That is going to be, without a shadow of a doubt, a Conference League place. Hey, first time in Europe, absolutely fine. So let's just hope that we can stay there. But of course, we need to make sure with those 3 teams behind us that we keep winning. Cherries to equal their highest placed finish of 9th. Now, remember, we have got the points record this season, but the highest placed position is 9th. The probability of that is 32.47. So not really that much confidence of us keeping that. There's a good chance we could get caught by one of those teams. If we get caught by 2 of those teams, we'll finish 10th, 13.48%, and 11th, which would be really, really disappointing to finish in the bottom half after such a good season, is 4.69. If you had to put money on it, I know it's horrible to say, and I know we're not going to do this because we don't condone gambling on this channel. But where would your money go on those positions?
At the minute,
Yeah,
well, it's easy, isn't it? It'd go 8th, wouldn't you?
yeah,
I mean, it's amazing how these probabilities will change so quickly because a defeat against Villa, heaven forbid, on Saturday, and those probabilities will change completely.
100%.
Especially if the results go against us with the teams behind us. So, I mean, this is kind of just as of now, isn't it? But
We
if you're
could.
betting now, you would go with 8th place. But it's interesting to see, isn't it? I mean, we'll have a look at
Yeah,
the trends in a minute, but it's looking very promising, isn't it? I mean, I know we can
yeah.
look at the table and go, yeah, we're 8th anyway at the minute. But, when you look at this, these kind of stats, it does fill you with more confidence that we could nick that 8th place.
Interesting factors which are probably going to influence anybody's decision, and I want you to put in the description below where you think we'll finish. Benefiting factors that may change your thoughts about all this. Brighton have got, of course, everybody's got 3 games left. Brighton have got Wolves away,
Good side,
Liverpool
isn't it?
at
Good
home.
side. That'd be difficult. Liverpool at home is going to be. I know people saying they might have taken their foot off the gas a bit, but that's a difficult one. 2
Yeah.
difficult games there for Brighton.
Spurs final game of the season at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Anything can happen there. So
Then let's
yeah,
go to Brentford, because Brentford's quite interesting. Ipswich away, you'd expect them to beat them.
hmm
However, Brentford host Fulham on the 18th of May. So both of those teams directly below us, or two of the teams directly below us, cannot get maximum points. Now, ideally, I think most people would hope, and that's when we play Manchester City, would
hmm
hope that that finishes in a draw. Now, if that finishes in a draw, we just got hope then Liverpool, get beat Brighton. Because if they beat Brighton, you know, regardless of what happens against City, it could either be done and dusted, or a defeat at the Etihad might be taken care of, and we can go, "Phew, no, we got over that one." So that is a bit of a curveball in there. They finish off with Wolves as well, so that's Brentford. And then of course we've got Fulham as well behind us, and we'll just go through theirs. They've got Everton at home. Everton nothing to play for, but they've got Brentford, of course, on the 18th of May, big one, and they finish off at home against Manchester City. Now, is that going to be a Manchester City who are going to be trying to keep themselves in the Champions League places, or is that going to be a Manchester City playing for pride? I think it might be a Manchester City side who are going, well, we could potentially lose a place in the Champions League here. We need to win this. There might be only a slender chance, but let's be honest, Pep Guardiola is not going to want to take that risk, is he?
no. Plus, they've got the cup final as well. So
Yeah.
if they were to already have their place cemented in the Champions League, it may be a case that he may rotate the squad a bit.
Yeah, very,
You
very true.
You have got that side of it as well, because he does want that silverware regardless. Once that Champions League place is cemented, that silverware is then absolutely paramount that they get it, because
This
they don't
season's
want
a
to go through
failure
a
for him.
circular season, do they?
Well, exactly. This season's already a failure for Pep Guardiola, without a shadow of a doubt. But
So
at the same time, he wants something.
exactly. So I mean,
Yeah.
if they're guaranteed Champions League football, you may see him go down to Fulham and possibly rotate some of the squad a bit.
But as much as people are saying, "Oh, look at our running," there's a lot of curveballs that could happen in this situation. So we've
Basically,
just got to focus on ourselves.
exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. Basically, we just got to worry about getting the 3 points for each game.
Yeah.
And go from there. What happens around us is out of our control. All we can do is go for the win, which Andoni's going to. That starts against Villa, which is going to be a tough game, but they're not unbeatable. They're a very good side,
Yeah.
but they're not unbeatable. They would have known what we've achieved this season. When they look over the sides that we've beaten this season and the performances we put in, so they know they're going to expect a hefty game. But it's like you say, it's all right looking at the probabilities here, which I'm sure we could all work out for ourselves anyway. But it's when you talk about those other games and teams in around us, what could happen, what may happen. Like I say, a couple have been playing Wolves. Wolves have been a very, very decent side over the last sort of 4 months or so.
Yeah.
I've seen of them since the new manager come in there. I think he's really revitalised them, and they look a decent side. So to be fair, if I was Fulham and Brentford, they know they're going to be in probably for a tough game against them. They're not the pushovers that they appear to have been sort of pre-Christmas. So some tough games there for all the teams involved.
Oh, 100%. 100%. But let's have a little look at this. So this is the attacking overview. So these are stats that are provided by Opta Analyst. Of course, the leading analyst provider. This is actually sorted by, and I'm just having a quick look here, by, no, it's not by shots. It's actually sorted by goals. No, it's not by goals. See, this is always what's confusing with all these stats. You have to try and work it out. XG, sorry, sorted out by XG. I'll get it right in a minute.
Sorry.
So yeah, no, that's all right. That's all right. So XG. So our XG is 60.46. So this is expected goals per game. At this moment in time, we are on 53. This was actually done prior to the Arsenal game. So this wasn't updated until recently. Of course, Opta need to get all the stats in. It should be updated now on Friday morning when you're watching this. So head over to Opta and you'll see the latest stats. But Matt, what do you read from all this?
Well, it's for me. It's looking at it across there. I mean, we're actually positioned on, like you say, expected goals.
Yeah,
actually positioned fourth out of all the teams across the league, which just obviously proves, we've had a good goal scoring season, doesn't it?
Yes.
But does this have any massive effect on Europe and us achieving Europe? Because when you look down there, you got Tottenham there, who I'm surprised to see so far up the table, considering they've struggled this season. There's no one else there that's in the bottom half of the table, is there?
No.
What it proves to me is that, it's not always going to be the top sides and the sides chasing for Europe that you'll see at the top of these tables, which I think is quite interesting. But from us, it shows what kind of strong season we've had in front of goals. Now, obviously, Evanilson's come in, filled the void from Dom. I know he's had a bit of an injury issue this season, which kept him out a bit, which we'll look at some of Evanilson's expected goals in a minute. But it also proves that, the goals coming from across the team as well. Obviously, Kluivert, I know he's our leading goal scorer. I know people say half his goals are penalties, but, there's goals coming in from all across the field. Semenyo, Kluivert, even with, like Dino, what's he popped up with? He's popped up with 3 season, isn't he? So when you look at cross there, it's good to see that, it's good to see us so high up the table, really. I mean, Liverpool, 80 goals. I mean, look at City. City have not had the best of seasons, but they've still managed to pile in 67 goals. It does, I don't think this kind of stats always reflects your season, does it?
No, exactly. Spurs, for example, have only scored 4 less goals than Manchester City this season.
Yeah, so, which is bizarre when you look at where they are.
Exactly.
In the table, it's really, when you look at this kind of stuff, football is quite a simple game, isn't it? Score more goals than the other team you're playing.
Well, exactly. But also, there's been teams that have gone through Premier League seasons. If I remember correctly, back in 2004, somebody might be able to correct me with this. Dan from the Toffee Blue Cast might be able to. I believe Everton, had a really shocking goal scoring ratio, because they were going through the season winning a lot of games 1-0. And they would have been right down there on the attacking overview that year, but they managed to finish 4th. And they had one of the meanest defences in the Premier League. So sometimes it doesn't always add up. But to be fair, that's a great position to be in when you consider.
It shows really how far we've come in an attacking aspect of things. It does really show what Andoni has done in terms of our goal scoring exploits, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course. And of course, our pressing is one of the key things for us. And as you can see here, and it's right up there. Of course, Arsenal, have got a higher pressing ratio, of course, managed by Mikel Arteta, another Basque manager. So they're very in a quite good position there. This is sorted out by start distance, and this is quite interesting because it is really really key. But if you look at there as well at the pressed sequences, in fact, the press sequences, Brighton, Brighton are actually top for the press sequences, followed by Manchester City, and we're above Arsenal. So there's been more pressing effectively. We've been involved in more pressing attacks than Arsenal have been, but less than both Brighton and Manchester City. But we've started from a slightly shorter distance. This is always fascinating, this sort of thing. It
Yeah.
really is. It really is. When you think about it as well, those press sequences, this doesn't include the Arsenal game. So did we make up those 10 press sequences? Did Arsenal maybe press us a little bit more and maybe are slightly above us? Who's to know? Brighton, did they press? Heavily. It's very, very, very interesting this, but for what it's worth, again, you can go on to Opta Analyst, you can have a look. The up-to-date stats are on there all the time. It's not going to change much from this, but yeah, these are really, really nice stats to see. So press sequences, yeah, very high up there.
Are you not surprised? I thought we would have been like first or second. The how high we press, and I'm quite surprised that our start distance is less than Arsenal. To be honest.
Well, there's two ways to look at this. So, for press sequences, we're effectively third. We're effectively third in the Premier League. We've got more than Liverpool. We've got more than Arsenal. Okay, only marginally. The start distance part, it's not a great big thing, but does that also mean, with regards to when we do press, we're already in quite an advanced, decent position to start off with? So
Yeah.
are we actually in a good position before we do start that press? Is
Mm,
it opportunist pressing? We've seen that at certain clubs before, where they do, and I think Brighton's a good example of that, where they do get the ball quite high up the pitch, by playing some really nice football, and then they do press when they get in a certain position. Have we got a little bit of that in us? Um, you know, I think we probably have, to be honest.
yeah.
Whereas,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So it's all interesting, these stats. Again, do put in the comments, make head and tail of it all. Like I say, go to Opta Analyst for the latest stats. And if you want to see them yourself, of course, there might be people watching this or listening to this on Spotify or Apple Music. So whilst you're jogging down the beach of a morning, I used to love that, going down the beach and walking down the beach and on the way to work. I miss that, working from home. But bit of a side note, open up Opta Analyst, have a little look as well whilst you listen to my lovely tones.
Yeah. Just before we look at the defending,
Yeah.
actually, what kind of does stand out and actually doesn't really surprise me is what ends in a shot. The percentage that ends in a shot, we're actually second, just
Yes.
behind Liverpool on that.
Yeah.
So that just shows how effective our high press is because of the amount of shots we have. So
100%, 100%. And look at where Liverpool are. They've won the title at a bit of a canter this season. And our presses that end in a shot, it shows, could we be doing a little bit better with the pressing? Andoni might not be satisfied. He might be, hey, it'd be really interesting if I presented this to Andoni Iraola, these stats, and it would be interesting to get the people's comments views in the comments. Would Andoni be looking at these and going, well, these are really good? Or would he be looking at these and going, well, actually, we should have scored a few more than we actually have here.
Mm.
Yeah. Analysing. But I tell you what, let's have a little look at the defensive. Now, of course, we are a little bit further down on this one. So I'm going to kind of explain what each of the tabs are. But of course, this is just having a look at it. This is actually sorted out by, and I'll tell you what, it's expected goals against. So this is XG. So this is expected goals against. This is sorted out by. Of course, Southampton are top. They're top of the league effectively on this because they're expected to concede a lot of goals. In fact, their goals that they've conceded is actually more than their expected goals against. So they've done something wrong there, haven't they? As have Leicester and have Ipswich. But we're kind of mid-table-ish in this, probably a little bit too up towards the top. What do you make of this, Matt?
Yeah, I just need to remind myself what the tabs were.
So yeah, the 4.5. So the 4.11, as it says on here, I've just had a look. It has updated itself just now. It's minus 4.53. Typical, isn't it, when we record on a Friday morning? But yeah, it is showing. It is showing the latest.
Yes, they've put the 35th game stats in now, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've just loaded it up. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, it's very interesting. This.
No, it's. I think I'm interpreting it that 95.24% of our goals have been conceded in the box.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I mean, is that? I mean, sometimes when you see some of the goals that we've conceded this season, even though we've got the quality of defenders that we have got, this is probably for the majority of clubs always where you want to improve, isn't it?
Yeah, and
The
believe it
amount
or
you
not,
concede.
that's highest in the whole league.
What's that?
That's highest in the whole league, the percentage of goals in the box.
So they know, teams will look. If you're a rival side looking at this, you'll be, saying, we've got to get the balls in the box against Bournemouth to score against them. And I think that shows the intensity of the midfield as well, and how we break them down in the midfield, and how we're, decent at defending the ball and winning the ball back in the midfield. That we're not letting masses of chances happen from outside the box.
And what's really interesting, Fulham, 74.47% of goals are goals that conceded in the box. So there's quite a disparity there between us and Fulham. So yeah, we definitely need to improve that. And maybe that's where teams are aiming for. Outside the box, it shows that because that's quite high, it shows that teams can't really beat us from some distance. And to be fair, when I think about it, that I'm trying to think, how many goals we've conceded from outside the box. It's not a great deal, is it really?
No, I'm just looking for that actual column.
It's not actually on there.
It's all outside the shots in the box, goals in the box. So when you look at it, yeah. So our goal, shots in the box, 66% of those shots are being, a lot of those shots are, being converted. But yeah, I think really, unless, I mean, to concede, 42 goals, to be fair, overall, isn't a bad total for us, is it really?
No.
And normally we're always in the negatives, and we had the goal difference and things like that. So, I mean, really, when you look at it over the season, I mean, it's probably an area where, like I say, most managers want to improve. But okay, yes, you can see where the goals are going in against us.
Yeah.
But overall, it's not a bad reflection really on us, is it?
I got to be honest. This is what where Coops and Tommy are probably getting their money's worth. They'll be looking at all these stats. They'll be looking at it probably in more finer tooth comb than me and Matt. But yeah,
I'd like to
it's
think so.
yeah, he's very interesting. Well, to be honest, they're doing a bloody good job. So yeah, I'm sure that they'll be planning and thinking, right, who do we bring in to actually sort this out? Make sure that this isn't the same case next season. Improve on the areas. Improve on the areas where we're particularly weak, but also strengthen the areas where we're particularly strong. It's finding that balance.
Yeah, agree with you.
Because funny enough, when you look at Fulham, just looking at Fulham, Fulham have got a very good defensive overview with regards to conceding in the box. They're kind of just a bit average with regards to their stats. They're kind of where they should be. So yeah, the Fulham are an interesting one because it kind of shows that maybe Marco Silva has kind of got that right and got that balance right.
Yeah, I'd agree. Let's have a
But
look at this man.
yes, yeah. And talk through it, Matt, because actually you brought up a very, very good point earlier on as well before we started recording.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at his, obviously this is expected goals. It does make you question, doesn't it? If he didn't have that spell out injured, where would he come on this chart? I don't think he'd be where he is, in all honesty. I think he'd be between Nicholas Jackson and Ollie Watkins. I think
Yeah.
he'd be a bit high. Obviously, I don't think he'd be as high as the likes of Cole Palmer. Quite possibly, who knows? But I think if he had still been fit and scoring goals during that period he was out, I think you'd see that 11.63 a lot higher than what it is. But I think it does show over his last sort of few performances, how important he's going to be in this running. I mean, he could be the difference. His goals could be the difference on whether we possibly get a place or not. I know we've got players scoring all across the pitch, and then we've got Semenyo, we've got Cliver, we know Tabs can score, we know, the defence can chip in with a goal here and there, but this man leading the line, I think, could be absolutely vital in these last 3 games.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And I think, what you've also got to take into account is that Evanilson had a bit of a bad start to the season as well. So, that's that's what you've also got to consider is, he had a bit of a bad start to the season. I would expect him to be a lot higher up next year and making sure that, I would expect him around probably where Johan Wissa would be if he gets off to a good start.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. But yeah. I mean, obviously, going back very quickly, just before we move on, when he was settling in at the beginning of the season, do you know what? I wasn't overly worried. I thought I could see goals coming. You come from a different league. You come from the Portuguese league. He was from Porto, wasn't he? So you come from. It's a different intensity, the Premier League, in comparison. But even when you watch his early games, he wasn't scoring, but you could see there was potential there that this guy was going to be a good goal scorer in this division. And I think if I remember rightly, I circled the Saints game out as being key for his first goal. He had to get his first goal in that game because I thought if he scores against Saints, his season's up and running nice and early. A lot earlier than maybe what I thought. You don't want your goal drought dragging along, do you?
No.
You don't call it a goal drought, call it what you want. But when you're a new player, especially a new striker, club's record transfer, it comes with quite a bit of weight on your shoulders, doesn't it? So I remember circling out, I don't know whether I circled it out on here or what, I can't remember now, but I do remember speaking to somebody and saying that Saints game is key for Evanilson to grab his first goal and see where he's gone from there. He's gone from strength to strength. And
100%.
It does make you wonder, next season, whether in Europe or not, what kind of exploits we're going to see from this guy, because I think he's only going to get better.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, this is the Opta win probability. So Bournemouth has been given a 39.9% win probability. Villa, 35.6%, with a draw, 24.5%. But this is what's weird about this. So we'll have a little look at what Opta says with regards to the games that we've got coming up.
Oh, yeah.
So they say Villa at home, the probability is a draw, even though that's the lowest. City, probability is a loss. Of course, Leicester, the Foxes, probability win. But is that going to be, honestly, is that going to be enough, do you think, for, 8th spot?
But like I say, you touched on it earlier. It's going to depend on the results. If this is the outcome of the last 3 games, then that's when we're looking over our shoulder.
100%.
Out of the Villa draw, obviously that is definitely would hamper Villa's Champions League hopes, which then brings them into the Europa League and the Conference League qualification places.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, really on paper, I'm not surprised when this come out, but when you look at it on paper, this is potentially what you may predict anyway. Maybe some of the pundits would probably predict this anyway, to be fair. But like I say, the Villa game for me is, we got to look at a game at a time now.
Yeah.
Game at a time and see what other results happen around us. The City game, the City game is gonna be always a difficult place to go to, City, isn't it? They've got so much quality, even though they've had a bad season. That probability there, you can't be surprised that comes out of the hat. But can we go there and win? Yes, we can.
But do they rest players?
Yeah, when is actually the FA Cup final? Is it at the end of the season?
This is where it gets silly. This is where it gets silly.
They might not actually be resting players against Fulham, mightn't they? It might actually be Bournemouth they might be resting players against.
Well, so they've got Southampton tomorrow. They've got Southampton tomorrow, a 3:00 kickoff. You'd expect them to beat them. Then, when we should have been playing them, they're playing Crystal Palace in the FA Cup.
Right.
And then they're playing us on the Tuesday. So they're not actually resting players for the Fulham game. So they could be turning around and going, right, we've got 2 days here. We probably need to spin these players around and rest them against us, which would work perfectly. So there is a chance there.
I'm still old school, you see. I still think the FA Cup final is the last game.
It should be. To be honest, it should be. It should be. It's stupid. It's stupid. It should be after all the Premier League games. I can fully understand. I was speaking to Chad with regards to their game against Spurs, and of course Spurs are expected to be in the Europa League final, and Villa's game's been moved. Chad, if you haven't watched it, his channel, go check it out. He's an inspirational guy, really, really inspirational Villa fan. So go check out his channel as well. But it's like, again, things are being moved for these big clubs, and it's stupid. And the Leicester one, you expect us to win it, but they're playing with pride. Hand on heart, is 4 points going to be enough? I'll ask you the question first. 4 points, will that be enough? Yes or no?
For Europe?
For 8th spot, Europe. It's horrible, isn't it? I've got in my mind.
Say yes. I really want to say yes.
Okay.
I really want to say yes.
I'm going to be awkward here.
I think it's 4 points is going to be a push.
I don't think 4 points is going to be enough.
Yeah.
However,
here
comes the curveball. I think 5 points will be. And the reason being is because effectively we've got another point in our bag. Unless Brentford go on a scoring spree, that is, and they're the ones to compete. The reason being we've got the best goal difference out of the 4 teams. So I think 5 points will be enough, considering Fulham and Brentford have to play each other. Of course, Brighton's game against Liverpool, the games against Man City in there. I think 5 points will be enough to secure 8th spot, but 4 won't be. I think I don't want it to come to that. Let's just hope that we can get 2 wins, or preferably 3 wins out of these final 3 games, just to make sure it's secure.
Yeah, I think 2 wins does it. I think
2 wins, yeah, I think it will. But 5 points, I think we're talking goal difference. I think, well, because you got to look at it this way as well. Fulham, if we do get the 5 points, they've got to get 7 out of the last 9.
Yeah.
Which 2 wins and a draw. Brighton, if again, they've got to then get 6 points. Of course, 2 wins. Same with Brentford. So I think honestly, and they've got tough games. I honestly think, 5 points will do it. But it's going to do it on goal difference. 4 points, we'll finish below one of them.
Yeah, I could see a point there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just while you're on about finishing, where this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
So the top there is the table as it finished last season.
Yeah.
And below is the current table. So
it's interesting.
The question is 57 points? This is the question. Is 57 points enough for Europe? And I think we've just touched on it. And it's probably not, is it?
No, it's most definitely not. I think 58 will do it this year. The main reason being is because of that disparity between Liverpool and the rest of the chasing pack. I think personally, the way to look at it is like all these averages. We've got a very, very poor bottom 3 this season. Last season, we had a poor bottom 3. The 3 teams that come up were poor. But this season, I would argue that we've got 3 worse ones this year. I know that's even hard to say, considering Burnley and Sheffield United were absolutely atrocious. I personally think I think 58 will do it. 57, no.
Yeah, I can see. I can see why you say that. Obviously, last year the standings were obviously different. United qualified through the FA Cup. Chelsea got Conference League, didn't they? And then Tottenham ended up with Europa League, and then there's your top 4 for Champions League. This year, obviously, we know it is different because of obviously the extra placement we've got.
You could assess this all day long, though, Matt. The thing is we look at
Gremlins.
There we are, Gremlins. They're always here. But we could assess this all day long, and the main reason why I say that is because you look at the bottom 3 last season. Burnley were hopeless in the top flight. They're coming back up. Sheffield United are in the playoffs. Luton Town, easily the best of the 3, and really put up a fight. Remember when we went there and got beat as well?
Yeah.
They're going to be playing in League One next season. So football's a funny old game.
Funny old game, isn't it?
I think 58 will do it, but I think 57 is no. It's mainly because of our goal difference. 58 will do it.
Yeah. Just quickly, I don't know if you've seen there. I've just attached something that I've just seen come through of a couple of players that we're linked with. I think. If you have a look there.
Yes, yes. First thing this morning, let's just have a little look at this. So, according to a report from Foot Mercatao, I think
I
I've
think
said
that's a
that right.
French. I think that's a French.
Macauto?
Yeah,
Macauto?
it's a French journalist. Journalist.
Oh, right. Okay,
It's a
fair enough.
French football website.
Oh, okay.
It's the
Bournemouth have.
home of French football in English.
There we are. There we are.
There
And
you
I
go.
still can't
Never heard
say
of
it,
it
even though
before,
it's no. But of course, we are preparing for a future without Milos Kerkez, and we've been scouting the French market for a replacement, and we've been looking at Stade Rennais, Adrien Truffert, or Olympique de Marseille's Quentin Merlin, and yeah, both of them a little bit older than Milos, but yeah, it'll be very, very interesting to see. Truffert has always been linked with an exit away from Rennes, but yeah, it could be a case that he will eventually leave Stade Rennais, who is his boyhood club. And Merlin was actually bought from FC Nantes for a £12 million fee, 12 million euro fee, I should say. So yeah, it'll be very, very interesting to see what happens with those. But then again, Julio Sola, of course, Alejo Rivera said, he's good enough. He's better than Kirkes. Hey, it shows what the scouting system's like here. It's bloody good, isn't it? But I think
yeah,
we need
it
a
was,
backup for Julio Sola, even if he's
yeah.
that good. He
There-
might
there was-
still be a bit raw. I might still need a little bit of time. Let's be fair.
There's also a link to another centre back as well that we're being linked to from. Well, it's rumoured that we're set to submit a bid
Mm,
for Nathan Zezi,
Zezzy
Nantes.
from Nantes. Okay, well there we go.
So there's a few out there. I know it's all transfer speculation, but that's just some of the stuff. No, it's just popped up on here this morning.
Yeah, it's interesting,
Yeah,
isn't it?
interesting to see what happens.
Yeah,
It'd be a very interesting transfer window, and let's just fingers crossed there'll be more coming in than going out.
exactly. Well, let's talk about a departing legend, though, who is departing Radio Solent, and of course, Willo is going to hang up the mic, and yeah, the very, very grainy tones of Willo will no longer be on BBC Radio Solent. But yeah, do you know what? He really does make the coverage. When you hear him with Chris Temple, or when he was with Chris Temple, I should say. Yeah, he's he's a character, isn't he? So let's
Yeah,
have a little look at this. So BBC Radio Solent's Bournemouth football pundit has announced he will retire from broadcasting at the end of the season. Willo, so John Williams, has been part of the station's sport coverage of AFC Bournemouth for more than 2 decades. Former Cherries player turned commentator said he wanted to go out with a really strong season. Colleagues praised his infectious love of football, said broadcast won't be quite the same without him. Willo enjoyed a 15-year professional career, including 5 years at Bournemouth, where he later returned as a coach before joining Radio Solent as a summariser. Announcing his retirement on Saturday following Bournemouth's victory over Arsenal, he said, "This is going to be my last season. I've enjoyed it so much. I want to go out on a really strong season, and this one is turning out to be the season of all seasons." Radio Solent sports editor Adam Blackmore, who worked with Willo for 21 years, said things won't quite be the same again. His infectious love of football and his beloved Cherries have shone through the airwaves for more than 2 decades. It's been an absolute asset for us. Radio Solent commentator and journalist Jordan Clark described Willo as an AFC Bournemouth legend. He said, player, coach, scout, and then commentator. He's done it all for the Cherries over the past 40 years. He cares deeply about the club, and you hear that every time he picks up the microphone. He'll leave a huge hole in our Cherries coverage, but it will be a privilege to sit next to him for these final 3 games of the season and hopefully witness the Cherries qualifying for Europe for the first time. So there we are. And actually, do you know what? I spoke to Willo when I was speaking to the guys who were actually doing the journey over to the Ukraine, and and it was incredible. He's got so many stories. He's spent loads of time afterwards as well, just chatting. And yeah, he's a right character. Is Willo? He's a real character, but a lovable character as well. So yeah, he's going to be greatly missed.
Yeah, I mean, when you go back to over the years, I mean, I remember, I must have been like leaving school, starting college, and all that. And I
Yeah,
remember we weren't going to an away game at the time. Me and my dad and my brother be in the kitchen listening to Willo.
yeah,
He's for people that listen to the games on Solent religiously, this is going to be a massive loss to him, because Willo, like they were saying in the report there, he is
Mr.
he's been
Bournemouth,
part of
isn't
the
he?
Cherries for 40 years, and
Yeah,
and like it was said there, he's done so many different roles at the club, and he loves the Cherries, even though he's from up Liverpool way. I think it was Tranmere he played for, I think, if I remember rightly.
yeah, I think it was, wasn't it?
The Cherries is very much in his heart, and
Mm.
yeah, it'd be strange, like driving home. The odd occasion I do drive home from games and that, because I normally get the train and stuff, but driving home, not listening to him, summarize the game on Solent will be, much missed, because Will always says it as it is, and I always thought he's a great summarizer.
Yeah. And I don't think he's frightened, is he? He just says it.
No,
He's honest. He's just
honest.
cut to the chase, then he's just
Yeah,
brutally honest.
yeah,
So
honest. And
yeah.
he's been there in the commentary box, as the clubs rised up through the divisions, and it's I think if I was listening to Solent every week, it must be a massive loss to all those listeners, because he is such a good summarizer. But yeah, I mean, I remember like my granddad saying when he remembers when Willo was first signed, and the impact Willo made, not only defensively but also in front of goals. I mean, he used to say to me, if someone can head a ball, Willo can head a ball. And
he's a tough man as well.
he was, excellent defender. And I remember my granddad saying he was such a difference in that championship third division championship winning season back in sort of 86, 87. That it's, I just remember him telling me stories of challenging him in the air, and that if you wanted to challenge him in the air, he would probably win every time. My granddad highly rated him from the terraces, so, and a lot of fans do and still do now. So yeah, disappointing really, like I say, not to be able to listen to him on the way home, and like I say, he's I mean, I remember him being in the dugout as well next to Machin, and so yeah, it's a shame, but I'm sure he'll still be going to the games.
Oh yeah, he'll be in the crowd. He'll be in the crowd. He'll be singing along. He's not going to stay away. Let's be honest.
But I think there does come a time, doesn't there, when you do something for so long, there does come that time when it's ready to go out, and let's hope it goes out with a bang with some European qualification.
Well, exactly. And I think he wants to, there's that point in your life, I guess, that, for somebody like Willo, where you just want to enjoy it. Just go down there on a Saturday afternoon,
Watch the
enjoy the
game, enjoy
football,
the
watch the game, have a couple of pints, have a laugh with fans and, go home. So, yeah, all the very, very best to Willo. No doubt we'll see you around. We'll no doubt hopefully speak to you as well at some point soon as well. Be good. Be good.
definitely.
Well, I tell you what, there's one place we need to finish on. And of course it is the business end of the season. Two Basque managers coming up against each other. Score predictions. What do you think, Matt?
All the stats, all the analysts out the way. Just a good old fashioned score prediction.
Yeah.
I am going 2-1 Bournemouth.
I hope that you're right, and I hope that I'm wrong with this, but I'm going to go for a 2-2 like last season.
Yeah,
I could see that happening against Aston Villa again.
I've gone with my heart on that one. My head is telling me a draw.
But I went with my heart.
I'm going to go for a win.
I went with my heart against Arsenal, and the heart actually worked out to be correct.
So hopefully I'm right this week then.
Yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, you're right this week. But like I say, I think 5 points will do it. So 2 draws and a win. I'd rather be in that pole position going into that last game of the season. So ideally, let's just go try and win all 3 games, just see where it leads us. Are we going to win all 3 games? I think I doubt it, but I think
It's not
5
impossible,
points.
is it?
It's not. No, it's not impossible. Man City haven't had a great season, and they're also after the FA Cup. So yeah, they'll be putting their resources into that. The Bournemouth game will be an afterthought for them. They'll be focusing much more on Crystal Palace. Villa, this is going to be the one where there's something for the opponents to really play for. Man City might have secured Champions League football at that point. They might not have as well. They might, think, well, we can leave it till that Fulham game, that last game of the season. I'm sure it was Fulham, wasn't it, that they're playing? I will just double check that as well. Yes, Fulham, last game of the season at Craven Cottage. They might think, well, we can leave it to that. We're still in a good position. We're still in a pole position for a Champions League spot. There is so many eventualities. We could assess this all day long. We could draw up plans. And they could all be scrapped by, Saturday evening. We could draw up plans that what happens if we lose. They could all be scrapped by Saturday evening because we might get the 3 points. So it's very, very, very bloody difficult to say. But I can see it based on where both teams are. It's not going to be a result that's going to benefit either team, but I could see it 2-2.
Yeah. It's going to be exciting.
Exciting, nerve-wracking, but at the same time, we've got to just go into it and just enjoy it and see where it leads us. But I think, we probably need to wrap up there because it's been a full show of statistics and my head hurts. I was never a very good mathematician. When I was at school, I used to be, I managed to get myself up to, they used to do levels. So like promotion and relegation. I got myself up to the 3rd grade once, like the 3rd level, which is effectively the League One standard. Never was I Premier League or never was I Championship, never 1 or 2, but 3rd level. Thought, okay, that's good. Completely failed in that and went back down to level 5. So that's the National League, where I spent most of my school days in my maths class. I don't know if it was the same sort of level system here, but it's quite brutal, really. Quite brutal. But yeah, hopefully we've done quite a good job of explaining the maths.
Well, my head hurt yesterday and it's starting to hurt again now.
Yeah, sorry, Matt. Sorry. Right. But everybody, hit like, hit subscribe, hit the bell button, follow us on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, wherever, all of these other places, you can find us on, we're even on podcast providers we don't know about. So there we go. But yeah, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Thank you for joining us. Up the Cherries. Let's go get European qualification. Over and out. And we'll see you in the next one.
Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.